So this video is to demonstrate how to create Object 1 from Plate 5.32 using SketchUp for Schools. Well, here's our drawing of Object 1 here, and we can see that it has these tick marks like we talked about in the grid sketch. And so we have to identify one tick mark from another. Now when I say a tick mark here, what I'm referring to is the distance between these marks here. I'm not talking about the length of them, but the distance between them. So this is what I call a half-inch tick mark right here. These are quarter-inch tick marks, and once again referring to the distance between the tick marks. So first order of business here, we need to figure out what the overall length, height, and depth of the object is. So taking a look at this here, we've got 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6, 7 halves. So I take the number 7, divide it by 2, that means it's 3.5 inches long. Looking at the depth here, I count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are half-inch increments, so that would be 2 inches in depth. And then I take a look at the overall height here, which is set at 3 halves, which is 1.5 inches. So using that information here, I'm going to go to a new tab, and I'm going to go ahead and launch SketchUp for Schools. So you can find SketchUp for Schools underneath the Google Apps waffle here, and we have to scroll down, and there's SketchUp for Schools. And so I'm going to allow that to launch. Alright, creating a new template here, feet and inches. Here's the workspace, and so what I'm doing here is I'm going ahead and zooming into my origin point. And so looking back at my drawing, just to remind myself, it's 3.5 by 2 by 1.5. So we're going to go ahead and get a rectangle going like that. Rectangle tool. So we said it was 3.5 inches, comma, 2 inches, and there's the rectangle in question. So I'm going to take the select tool, delete this person, then I'm going to zoom in on this rectangle here, and I'm going to take push-pull here and extrude this up 1.5 inches. Alright, so that takes care of the rectangular prism now. Now we're going to go ahead and take care of the U-shaped channel. Now the U-shaped channel here is really defined by these flat spots here on the top part of the object. This one's a 1/2 inch, and this one's 3/4 of an inch. So going back to SketchUp for Schools, I'm going to take my guideline tool, and I'm going to move this over from left to right, 0.75 inches. And I'm going to set a guideline there, and I'm going to set a guideline on the opposite side, 0.5 inches. Now those are the locations of the edges of that U-shaped channel, and now I'm just going to divide the face here just like this with the straight line tool, and then now I'm just going to use push-pull to push this downward. So let's check the total depth. I see it right here, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So push-pull down 0.75 inches. Alright, well, let me stop there for a second. I'll reset up. In the next order of business here is we're going to take care of this little cutout here on the side and the 2 holes. So let me reset myself here. Well, I'm back. Let's go ahead and take the erase tool, and we're going to get rid of these guidelines that we created earlier. What I'm going to now focus in is on the right hand side of the object. I'm going to create this little cutout right here. It's as if someone had sawn away part of this object here. So I note its dimensions here in length from left to right. I've got 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves. That's 1.5 inches. And then this part here, it needs to be 3/4 of an inch deep, and I know that because of these tick marks right here, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. Oops, that's a daisy. SketchUp for Schools. And then what I'm going to do here is get set up for that particular cutout. And the way I do that is once again reach for my tape measure tool. I'm going to measure over 1.5 inches. And then I'm going to divide the face right here with a straight line. And then I'm going to take push-pull here, and I'm going to push-pull this backwards 0.75 inches. Alright, so that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and delete that guideline. Now let's get set up for the holes. Well, looking at the holes here, from our grid sketch, you remember we said this distance here was 1/4 of an inch. And then we need to know the hole center here, because that's how we form the holes with the modeler. So the hole center, if you remember my discussion about the radius here versus diameter, what I have to do to find the hole center here is I have to know what the radius of the diameter radius of this circle is right here. So I see that the diameter is 1/2 inch. So that would mean the radius would be half of that, which is 1/4 of an inch. So in order to find the hole center from left to right, I have to go over 1/4 of an inch and then 1/4 of an inch more, which would be a total of 1/2 inch. And then from front to back, well, there's the hole center there. It's set at 1/2 inch also. So what I'm going to do here is take my guideline tool, and I'm just going to measure back 0.5 inches, and then measure from left to right 0.5 inches. And then I'm going to create a circle there. Let's see, oh yeah, circles underneath the rectangle, circle tool. And then this is why we have to know the difference between radius and diameter. See, I'm going to create this circle here, but you see I'm identifying its radius here. So I've got a 1/2 inch diameter circle. It's got to be a 0.25 radius when I input that error for the circle's size. So now I can just take push-pull here and push-pull this till it extrudes itself through the underneath side. So guideline tools, go ahead and delete those guidelines. Now the other hole is a little easier, because we said that from our grid sketch we know that this distance here is one hole center is in line with this edge here. So I just drag a guideline even with this edge, and then we do the same thing from here to here. It's a 1/2 inch back. So from back to front, 0.5 inches. And then once again I draw my circle, and I'm going out 0.25, which is the radius of a 1/2 inch diameter circle. And then I'm going to take push-pull. Let's see, where is that? Here it is, push-pull. I'm just going to extrude this through the underneath side, just like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a minute, and we're going to talk about saving and uploading to Canvas. Well, we're back here. Let's tidy this thing up here. We got a couple more things to do before we can upload this. I guess first thing I'm going to do is just take care of these hidden lines, make sure those are gone. Now, one of the problems with using SketchUp for Schools is a lot of the commands that we're used to using we don't have on the menu bar anymore. So first thing I want to do here is show back edges. So what I'm going to do is use this tool right up here. It's Search SketchUp, and I'm going to type in the word BACK. So view back edges, it's K. Okay, so we're just going to turn that on. Let's see here, K. Alright, so there's our back edges. Now, the other thing we want to do is hidden geometry, so let's do a search there for hidden. So hidden line, let's see, there's back edges. Oh, we got that already. Now we want hidden geometry. There we go, hidden geometry. And so we can toggle that on or off just by clicking this one right here. Alright, so that takes care of a couple commands that we needed to take care of, and like I said, this search tool is really helpful in kind of getting over the hump on switching over from SketchUp Pro to SketchUp for Schools. So anyway, this object is now ready to go ahead and save. Now remember, we're going to do a couple of saves here. So the first one is just a normal old save, and so what we're going to do is we're going to name this appropriately. This is let's call this SketchUp for Schools. SketchUp for Schools, and we're going to call this 5_5.32, so I'm using underscore instead, and then we're going to put another one, and this is going to be object 1, just like that. So SketchUp for Schools 5.32, object 1, and click OK. Alright, so it's going to save this to your Google Drive, so I've already got one set up, but you should set one up too. It's SketchUp, and then you're just going to, and the way you do that is I think you'd click a new folder. Well, you may have to create a new folder in your SketchUp or in your drive first, and then go ahead and save it to it. So, and I'm just going to select that. It's saving it there. Okay, it's all good to go. It says saving. Alright, it's saved. So now you can see that it's saved. I have this name here. But you know, we also want to send this to Canvas. So we're going to have to take a picture of this here, and so the way I do that is I go to this file folder right here, and I want to go ahead and I want to do a export PNG. That's the only option we have, is the PNG here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. We're going to export this out as a PNG. Once again, it's going to save it back to your SketchUp folder. All right. All right. So once that's done, then what you'll have to do is you'll have to get back on Canvas here and go ahead and submit your model that way. So let me pause the video here and then kind of get that set up. Well, we're nearly finished here. It's I'm just going to have a discussion about how to upload this to Canvas. Now, when I got started here, I thought that your PNG file was going to be uploaded to like my drive or maybe your SketchUp folder, but after looking through the SketchUp folder, I was not able to find it, and then it occurred to me that it probably is downloaded to your download folder on your Chromebook. And so what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go ahead excuse me, when it says when you download that file, a note will pop up in the bottom right hand corner of your Chromebook screen that will say, do you want to show this file folder? You want to show this file in the file folder, and you want to answer yes to that, because what it's doing is it's going to open it up in your download folder. And see, what I would do at that point there is go ahead and drag it into my drive. So your folder would be right here, your download folder. I just drag it into my drive here, which would be on the top level of your my drive, and so it'll put it in this list of files and folders that you have here for my drive. And so that's how I would go ahead and handle that part of it. Now, getting back to the SketchUp model here in Canvas. So here we are in Canvas here, and so let me go ahead and switch this to student view, and we'll see if we can get this sorted out. Alright, so here I'm in student view, and I'm going down here to the SketchUp model. And what I'm doing here is I'll submit the file just like usual here, using this button right up here. Now, mine's a little different here, because mine doesn't have the Google Doc tab, okay? And that's the one that I would click on down here. So mine is just not enabled here on this particular machine, but you should have a Google Doc tab somewhere in this area. And so I'd click on that, and once you click on that, it'll say, you know, if you haven't authorized your drive, it'll say, can I use your Google Drive? And you should have done this already. But then you want to go through the list. There'll be a list populated right here that'll tell you, okay, it'll show you all the files that you have in your Google Drive, and then you just simply have to pick out the correct one that you've uploaded. It's a PNG file though, so that's what you're looking for. So it'll have the file name, and then I'll have an extension on it that says PNG, and then that's the one that you want to go ahead and click on, and then go ahead and submit your assignment that way. And that's about the best description I can tell you right here, right now, without having your Chromebook in front of us so that I could demonstrate it to it. But it's very similar to the other things that we've done with the Google Doc tab. So give it a try. You know, let's see if we can get this to work. And then if not, well, we'll just figure out something else. Maybe we'll do a link or something like that. But anyway, I think that's good enough for now. And so good luck with this, and we'll talk to you soon.